On today's show, it's the story of a shotgun shell. Well, maybe about 30 million shotgun shells. And they're all made right here in Minnesota as we sneak behind closed doors to see how the shells come to life.
Safety is first, okay? Muzzle in the right direction.
Later, at a time when students focus their attention on sports, there's a group with a different goal. Their passion may surprise you.
Most of these buildings here were granaries or buildings to hold cows.
And our Minnesota Bound Classic this week deals with a very special lodge we visited some years ago. We look back at our journey to a place called Camp David. Those stories and more next.
Minnesota Bound. Brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers.
Hi, everybody. Raven and I welcome you to the show. You know, one of the things we seem to take for granted is our shotgun ammunition. You put it in the shotgun, you pull the trigger, and it goes off. Well, almost all the time. But where does it come from? How is it made? Well, fortunately, one of the largest shotgun shell makers in the world is right here in Minnesota, called Federal.
Come windy fall days, barrels start smoking.
Rooster! Oh, good shot. Nothing like hearing that gun go boom.
To pull the trigger, to burn shells, it's one of my favorite parts of pheasant season.
We got smoking barrels.
On an October day, we celebrate life outdoors.
This is just a surreal backdrop for a hunt. I mean, look at how big that Missouri River is.
Rooster! Good shot.
They are pretty birds. That's a nice tail. Eric, was that you?
These guys and these shotgun shells, they're the stuff Minnesota conservation stories are made of. See, Eric Carlson works for Federal Premium Ammunition, and so does buddy Brian Kelvington.
Eric was assigned a task to come up with a pheasant load that would revolutionize, basically, pheasant hunting. He took the concept that we were using for Black Cloud, tweaked it for pheasant hunters.
And came up with Prairie Storm.
Yeah, you know, when you come up with new ideas and if they're pushing the envelope, you never know how much better it is. Rooster!
It gives you an advantage, plain and simple.
But to fully understand the Prairie Storm story is to sneak behind closed doors back at home base. Here in Anoka, Minnesota, workers churn out Prairie Storm shotgun shells literally as fast as the conveyors will spin.
We are a 24/7 manufacturing facility here. We've got over 150 employees that work in this plant alone, covering basically 4 shifts running this operation nonstop.
The process starts with raw materials.
If you look right here, it looks like there's water dripping, but that's actually each of the BBs being produced.
In those BBs, part of Prairie Storm's secret.
Well, one of the things that makes Prairie Storm different is it uses 2 different styles of shot.
The BBs are a mix of Federal premium copper-plated shot and this stuff called Flight Stopper.
And then our Flight Stopper shot, this is nickel-plated shot, and it's got the cutting ring on it, and that's what makes it the Flight Stopper pellet. We have a mix of that in these shells.
The other key, what engineers call flight control wads. Those white guys right there. They keep the pattern of the BBs much more consistent and tight. See? Back upstairs.
This is called a Riefenhauser.
The machine with the funny sounding name melts and stretches plastic to form shell tubes. Then the cup cutter.
And they come down here, and nice and shiny and a little warm. Woo! You didn't tell me they're hot. Whoa!
And down the line, the really hot stuff.
Those are the primers, the explosive stuff.
When your firing pin in your gun hits the shell, boom, that's what goes. I hear those things will go bang. They do.
Finally, all the individual pieces become one.
Well, we're standing here at the loader. This is where we bring all the components together and assemble the final cartridge. What we're making here is our Prairie Storm load.
But the loads don't go to store shelves quite yet.
So you think you've got a shell all completed, right? Wrong. There's still this guy, and his job baffles me.
Tom Gregenik looks at every single completed shell.
On a good day, we'll do about 100,000.
Well, you just got through 200, so you only have 99,802 to go.
So what does this all mean to conservation? Well, Federal just celebrated a very special benchmark. Special to you and special to me, people who hunt public land. Hang tight, you'll understand. The story's coming up.
When we return, we'll continue the countdown in the world of shotgun shells. How about 30 million?
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Minnesota's select GMC dealers. Seven Clans Casino. And by Kinetico.
Welcome back. Bill Shirk continues with his story about the 30 millionth federal shotgun shell.
The production of shotgun shells is really a numbers game. But here, in the world of Minnesota-based federal premium ammunition, one number matters, and it is a big one.
30 million rounds of pheasant loads made by one company in order to help preserve a hunting heritage.
This past season, Federal produced its 30 millionth round of Prairie Storm. 30 million shells in only 3 years of production.
Well, when you think about it, 30 million rounds, and those are all hunting loads. People aren't buying those and shooting them at target practice. They're out there hunting. That means that 30 million rounds expended at birds. That is a huge number.
And it's a good number for conservation. See, tied to each of these shells is a special conservation partnership. You can see the logo on the box.
Any ammunition, any gun company pays an 11% excise tax, and it's called the Pittman-Robertson excise tax, and that goes to pay for conservation with state wildlife agencies. But then this royalty program that we have with Pheasants Forever, having their logo on the box and paying an additional fee above and beyond that, going directly to the habitat organization, Pheasants Forever.
They're putting money in the pockets of conservation groups like Pheasants Forever so that my kids and their kids have land to hunt. Bottom line.
So it was a great moment when our cameras documented Federal's 30 millionth load rolling by. We had planned to celebrate and shoot what we guessed was the 30 millionth shell on a South Dakota hunt. But then, this happened.
Rooster! There goes Bert. Hen. Hen, hen. Wow. Good shot. Rooster! Watch. There goes Rooster! Oh yeah.
Hey, we've seen a lot of birds this afternoon.
Oh my goodness. This has been an outstanding walk.
In all the action, that special shell got lost in our pockets and just kind of dissolved into all the shooting. But I guess it doesn't really matter. The Prairie Storm story is really about this.
What a find.
The smells, the sounds, the view in a perfect fall feel.
That conservation ethic that we have here between Pheasants Forever and Federal Ammunition has just been so strong, such a great relationship. It's been good for conservation and it's been good for business.
You just can't beat it.
When we return, we're heading to Waconia High School, where the students take their extracurricular activities to the woods and waters.
Minnesota Bound is brought to you by Ellsworth Creamery and by Ice Force, proven hard water gear.
As we all know, there's lots of things happening in our high schools, but we're going to take you to Waconia, Minnesota High School, because they have a program there very, very unique, a conservation club, and their passion will surprise you.
It's often said that waiting can be the hardest part. On this cold November morning, a group of high schoolers wait with anticipation, many hoping to see the flush of their first pheasant.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.
Joined by a group of adult volunteers, Wayne Trapp draws up what he hopes will be the perfect pheasant drive.
Gather around the fire hydrant.
Number one goal today, safety. Safety is first, okay?
Be safe, have some fun, shoot some birds.
To walk this field, each student is missing a day of school. The catch is they all have permission to do it. Wayne happens to be one of their teachers, but today he's just another volunteer along for the ride. These kids are part of the Waconia High School Conservation Club. It's a student-run organization focused entirely on exploring the outdoors.
All right, keep your lines, head out. Keep your eyes downfield though, guys.
The club, which started in 2006, began when a few parents had an idea to introduce more kids to the outdoors. They found some excited students and got the ball rolling.
We started with 16 kids. I remember the first meeting, and it was just in a little pizza shop in town, and they decided, one of our former members who is out here today, President, he came up with the motto, explore, expand, and protect our natural resources, and that's what we try and do.
Since 2006, the club has exploded.
We're pushing between 250 and 300 members now. They really want to be outdoors. They really want to do things with their hands, with their feet, walking around, experiencing the outdoors, and we just give it to them, and they eat it up.
Hey, shoot that away!
I was totally gonna shoot at that.
That away.
Way to pound at it. Nice job.
Morgan is the club president and a heck of a leader.
Nice shooting, huh? Was that you, Morgan, or Jan?
Her job is to help organize weekly meetings and keep everyone on track.
If you have any questions, just come up and ask us. There's permission slips right there for the pheasant hunt. It's a cool club, and it just kind of does like what I like to do, and so it just comes naturally to me.
The club spends much of their time at work.
We do try and pair our hunts with, or our activities, fun activities, with some sort of service project. We go pheasant hunting, but we'll do a ditch cleanup. We go ice fishing, but we also do a lake cleanup too.
All because they want to make a difference.
The kids get a chance to give back, and they really enjoy that.
It was really fun, actually. I got to shoot once. I didn't hit anything, but no, it was fun.
In this club and this field, it's not about whether you hit or miss. It's about the smile and the chance to explore something new.
They have made lots of great memories, lots of stories that they can share with their families.
Go bird, Willie!
I love it. Like, I don't know what I would do in high school without it.
Thanks to a few conservation-minded kids, the path to the outdoors has never been easier.
Good hunt, good hunt. You did a great job.
Hi, I'm Rob Jerusalem, Managing Editor of the Outdoor News Publications. It's that time of year when Minnesotans visit the freezer to grab a package of fresh venison. But perhaps you've noticed the big bold lettering on processed deer meat that says, "Not for sale." Ever wonder about that? It's illegal to sell wild game in Minnesota and around the country, And those laws go back more than a century to the era when market hunting nearly wiped out many game species in America. Sport hunters endorse and respect these laws, and it's very rare that Outdoor News reports busts involving wild game resale. But there's growing discussion about whether hunters should be allowed to sell deer meat. The subject came up with the Wildlife Society, an organization of wildlife professionals from around the world, at their annual meeting in Milwaukee earlier this fall. They asked whether allowing some sale of wild venison could help lower high deer populations in metro areas. Now, not so much in the Twin Cities, but out east, traditional ways to kill deer, such as venison donation programs, long seasons, and extra deer tags, haven't gotten the job done. Today, there are probably more deer in North America than there were before European settlement, so would loosening the rules on deer meat help manage white-tailed deer? Now, from 30,000 feet, seems like a reasonable idea, but your humble Outdoor News editor has some concerns. Foremost, we're talking about putting a monetary value on venison, which makes all deer, big bucks and little does alike, a potentially profitable target for poachers. On the flip side, some urban deer managers tell me they struggle in this no-tax era to justify costs for sharpshooters they sometimes employ to kill overabundant whitetails. Selling some of that venison, they tell me, could offset some of those expenses. Now, we promise to flesh this topic out more in the pages of Outdoor News this winter, so check out the print edition or read us online at outdoornews.com. I'm Rob Drieslein.
Still ahead, how about a visit to Camp David Lodge? What makes this place special? Stay tuned to find out.
Minnesota Bound, brought to you by Hennepin County Medical Center, Minnesota Agricultural Water Resources Coalition, Minnesota soybean farmers and their checkoff, and by Smoothie Oil Company.
A question: what do you do with an old abandoned farm if it's in North Dakota? Well, here's the answer. You call it Camp David and you invite pheasant hunters. On the windswept prairies of North Dakota, old farmsteads like this one, with its weathered old barn, a remnant of an earlier era down on the farm, tend to die slowly and then disappear. This place, called Camp David, might be a little weathered, but it's a long ways from dying. A longtime farmer, Dave Scallon, is also an avid hunter who saw the old homestead as a new business opportunity.
So we just decided to fix up the barn one day just for a place to start hunting out of here. And it just kind of kept growing as the pheasant population grew. I still farm. I farm less though, so it kind of worked out good for me. At one time I farmed so much, the only hunting I did, I carried a gun with me and the pickup, and that just wasn't hunting. So I was really glad to lower my acres and be able to do this as well.
A tour of Camp David is like a game of names, like Sharptail Shack, the Gut Hut, and, well, you get the idea.
Most of these buildings here were granaries or buildings to hold cows.
In other words, there's nothing fancy about old farm buildings, but they've become home to these bird hunters. Since opening Camp David, Dave Scallon has emphasized habitat management to ensure wild birds in the field. Raven was working birds. I was sharpening my shooting eye. In other words, it was a win-win North Dakota style. At Camp David, ringnecks have habitat, hunters have birds, and every autumn, there's still a warm glow coming from the old barn. Lots of fun at Camp David, good food, good hunting. What more can anybody ask? Well, that about does it for us. Remember, introduce a kid to the great outdoors, take him pheasant hunting. I'm Ron Scher, and of course, always the star of the show and a pheasant hunter in her own right is Raven.
Transportation provided by Premier Transportation. Call 1-800-899-7433. For more information on these stories and more, catch us on the web at mnbound.com.